3 missile attacks on an American warship.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't see every day.
Yeah.
We're diving into a Times of India YouTube video today, and it really highlights what's happening over there in Yemen.
Right.
And gives us some really fascinating insight into the perspective of the Houthi rebels.
Absolutely.
And some interesting messages to the U.S. and Israel.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating video, just in how they're using it to kind of get their message out there.
Yeah, and it really is a platform for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just say, hey, we did this.
Exactly.
It's them kind of controlling how that message is delivered.
Yeah, shaping the narrative both for their own people and for the international community.
Right. So let's unpack this a little bit.
Sure.
So the video talks about these missile strikes against U.S. warships in the Red Sea. And particularly, they claim to have hit the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier 3 times in 48 hours.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim.
Talk about a high-pressure situation.
Absolutely.
So maybe just as a little refresher, who are the Houthis and what is their goal in this conflict?
Okay. So the Houthis are a Zaidi Shia Muslim group. They've been fighting in Yemen's civil war for years now.
Okay.
And they actually control a pretty large part of the country, including the capital, Sana'a.
Yeah.
And they see the U.S. as backing this Saudi-led coalition that's been fighting against them.
So that explains why they would target an American warship.
Yeah, exactly. So that gives you some of the background there.
Okay, so they don't hold back in this video.
No.
I mean, they're making some pretty serious threats against the U.S. and Israel.
Right.
Is this just them trying to look tough, or is there more to it?
Well, I think it's pretty complex strategy. For one thing, it's definitely a show of force, right?
Right.
They want to project an image of strength, try to deter any further involvement from outside powers.
Right.
But it's also about appealing to their own people, playing on existing anti-Western sentiment, really kind of framing themselves as the protectors of Yemen against foreign influence.
It is interesting to see that play out in the video.
Yeah.
So you've been studying this conflict for a while now.
Yeah.
Is this normal behavior for the Houthis, or is this something new?
Well, they have targeted Saudi Arabia and the UAE before.
Okay.
But directly going after the U.S. Navy like this,
Right.
that's a pretty significant escalation.
Yeah.
I mean, it really raises questions about, how capable they actually are and, how far they're willing to push this.
Do they want to risk an even bigger conflict?
Exactly.
And speaking of a wider conflict, one thing that's really striking in this video is that they show these massive rallies with ordinary Yemenists chanting slogans against the U.S.
Right.
I mean, it really shows that this is a conflict that's affecting real people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to remember that, beyond all the military stuff and the politics, there's a real human cost to this war. Millions of people in Yemen are facing starvation and displacement and disease.
Right.
This conflict has had a devastating impact on their lives.
Absolutely. So we've gotten this very strong message from the Houthis' point of view.
Right.
But it also raises some questions, like what else is going on here?
Yeah.
What are we not seeing? What other things should we be looking at to get a clearer picture of this situation?
Yeah, I think the key is to try to see past the rhetoric and look at the, what's actually happening strategically.
Right.
What are the Houthis really hoping to achieve with this?
Yeah.
How are the U.S. and its allies going to respond?
Right.
And most importantly, what does all of this mean for the people of Yemen who are caught in the middle of this?
Those are the real questions, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this deep dive has really given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the headlines and the videos, but we have to remember that there are real people whose lives are being deeply affected by this conflict.
Right.
And I think it's our responsibility to stay informed and to keep asking questions and trying to see this situation from different angles.
Absolutely.
So that we can understand it better and see what it means for the world.
I totally agree.